She walked into their world with nothing but dreams, and skin they judged instantly. By day, she was a top student. By night, invisible behind a uniform. She didn't just rise, she soared. From top scores to the city's heart, she earned her voice.
It was supposed to be just another night.
They mocked her, ignored her brilliance. But they didn't see what was building inside her.
We stand at a pivotal moment, a time for bold action and unwavering resolve. Our voices united will...
It was Maya's first day at one of the most prestigious universities in the United States, a place known for its towering legacy, not its diversity. She stood at the gates, holding a weathered bag and an admission letter she had read 100 times. Her hands trembled, not out of fear of the future, but the weight of everything she'd overcome just to stand there. Maya was black, from a modest neighborhood where dreams often remain just that, dreams. She had worked relentlessly, balancing part-time jobs with top grades, and now she was here, on merit, on grit. But as she stepped onto the campus, the bright green lawns and elegant brick buildings seemed to whisper, "You don't belong here." Inside the halls, she felt it instantly. Eyes that lingered too long, faces that didn't smile back, conversations that went quiet when she approached. Her first lecture was in a cold, echoing hall filled with students from wealthy, mostly white backgrounds. She took a seat in the middle row. Around her, designer bags were set down carefully, MacBooks opened with casual ease. Her laptop was secondhand, the corner chipped. A girl next to her looked at it, then looked away. After class, she tried to introduce herself to a group standing outside. They laughed politely, nodded, and then slowly drifted away as if she'd never spoken. She stood there for a few seconds, pretending to check her phone, pretending not to notice. That night, Maya started her shift at a popular restaurant downtown. It was sleek, expensive, and white-owned. She wore her crisp black and white uniform and tied her curly hair back neatly, pushing down the fatigue and swallowing her pride. She served tables full of professors, businessmen, and sometimes students from her own university, many of whom didn't recognize her, or pretended not to. She kept her head down, memorized orders, smiled even when it hurt. At 11 p.m., after cleaning the last table, she walked back to her small dorm alone. Her legs ached, her feet were blistered, and the words whispered behind her back in class still echoed in her mind. She's just here on a scholarship. Probably some diversity quota. Let's see how long she lasts. But Maya didn't cry. She opened her books, made a cup of instant coffee, and started studying for the next day. She knew the world didn't owe her kindness, so she decided to earn its respect, even if it meant bleeding for it. The next semester began with a weight heavier than before. The lecture halls were the same, the faces mostly unchanged, but Maya walked in with something different in her stride, a little more guarded, a little more aware. She took her seat in the second row, like always. But this time, even before the professor entered, whispers had already started. "Did you see her hair today? Trying too hard to fit in, huh? I heard she only got in on a diversity quota." It wasn't new, but this time it stung deeper. Because now she knew. No matter how hard she tried, there would always be someone ready to cut her down just because of her skin. After class, Maya made her way to the library to study. She needed to stay focused. She was in the top 10% of her program, a fact none of her peers cared to acknowledge. While others went to parties, she worked extra hours. While they posted selfies in the quad, she revised research notes and perfected her essays. But none of that was enough to escape the snide remarks. The quiet exclusion, the invisible wall between her and the rest of the campus. One day she approached her HR after class. "Sir," she began cautiously, "I wanted to talk to you about something I've been facing on campus." He didn't look up from his desk. "If this is about students being unfriendly, Maya, you need to understand, university life is competitive. Everyone feels pressure." She hesitated. "It's not about competition, sir. It's about being treated differently because I'm black." That made him glance up, briefly. His eyes didn't soften. "I've heard no such complaints from others," he said. "Perhaps you're misinterpreting." Her heart sank. Smiles, politeness, and subtle dismissal. "Let's focus on your education, Maya," he had said. "That's why you're here, right? No help, no concern. Just veiled indifference dressed in academic professionalism. She walked back to her small dorm room that day, feeling like the walls were closing in. Not from defeat, but from disappointment. She had believed the university would protect her voice, but all she got was silence. Before she could reply, a coworker called her name. She gave Ethan a polite nod and rushed back to work. But something about that brief encounter stayed with her. Over the next few weeks, Ethan returned to the restaurant, always sitting in her section, always polite, always asking about her classes. He didn't treat her like a waitress. He treated her like a person. Slowly, a cautious friendship began to grow. He never asked about her skin. He asked about her dreams, her goals, her family, and listened. And through that quiet support, Maya found a spark inside her reignite. Someone finally saw her, not her skin, her potential. The same story repeated when she met with the vice chancellor a week later. After that unexpected conversation at the restaurant, something shifted in Maya's life. It wasn't a sudden transformation, nor was it a loud declaration. It was a quiet spark, one that flickered between two very different worlds, beginning to weave their threads together. Ethan started showing up more often at the restaurant, not just passing by, but intentionally coming. At first he would sit in a corner pretending to work on his phone or laptop, but his eyes always found Maya, and she noticed. One evening, as she wiped tables under the dim glow of the overhead lights, Ethan walked up to her and said quietly, "Hey, Maya, mind if I sit with you for a few minutes?" Maya's heart skipped. She hesitated but nodded. The hours that followed were filled with quiet conversations, a mix of curiosity, hesitation, and growing trust. For once she felt seen, not just as a waitress, not just as a black girl facing the weight of the world, but as a person. Ethan was different from what she expected. He wasn't the typical wealthy, arrogant heir. There was a softness in his eyes, a humility that felt rare in his world. They talked about books, music, dreams. He asked about her family, her struggles, her hopes, and she answered honestly. Still, Maya was cautious. Years of pain and disappointment had taught her to protect herself. She knew that bridges between their worlds were fragile and easily burned. She had seen the way society looked at her, judging, dismissing, stereotyping. She couldn't let herself get hurt again. But Ethan was persistent. He didn't just visit the restaurant. He started coming to the university cafeteria too. Once, when a group of students made a snide remark about Maya's race, Ethan stood up and told them to stop. His voice was firm but calm, surprising many around. "You don't have to take this," he said to Maya later. "No one should make you feel less." Maya's eyes filled with tears, not just because of what he said, but because someone finally saw her pain and stood beside her. Despite the small acts of kindness, Maya's life at university remained challenging. The deeper she immersed herself in her studies, the more isolated she became. Many classmates whispered behind her back, questioning her place. Some professors treated her as invisible, failing to recognize her intellect. There was a painful disconnect between her potential and the reality she faced. Late at night, when the university was empty, Maya would sit in the library, poring over textbooks and research papers. Her mind raced with ideas, but exhaustion and frustration weighed heavily on her shoulders. One evening, after a particularly harsh day when her hard work was dismissed in class, Maya confided in Ethan. "They don't see me," she said, voice breaking. "No matter how hard I try, they think I'm here because of some charity or quota. It's like I'm invisible or worse. A token." Ethan reached out, placing his hand gently on hers. "You're not invisible to me, and one day they'll have to see you for who you really are." His words gave Maya strength, but she knew the road ahead would be long and difficult. To support her in more practical ways, Ethan began quietly connecting Maya with academic resources and mentors. He recommended her for prestigious scholarships and exclusive study programs, always ensuring her efforts were recognized fairly, without anyone knowing the source. Maya worked harder than ever. She balanced two jobs, waiting tables late into the night and relentless studying during the day. There were moments when exhaustion threatened to consume her, but the quiet encouragement from Ethan and her own unyielding spirit pushed her forward. Slowly but surely, Maya's efforts started paying off. She climbed to the top of her class, surprising professors who had underestimated her. Her papers were published in university journals. She earned awards for leadership and academic excellence. Her success wasn't just personal, it became a beacon of hope for others. black students facing similar struggles. Maya's courage and resilience were breaking barriers, showing that talent could not be ignored forever. Yet with success came new challenges. One afternoon, Maya was called into the dean's office. The atmosphere was tense, the air heavy with unspoken accusations. "You've become quite the topic of conversation," the dean said, his tone carefully neutral. "Some people are questioning whether your achievements are entirely your own." Maya held her ground, her voice steady but firm. "I work 2 jobs, I study every night, and I've earned every grade and award. If that's not enough, then maybe the standards need to change." The dean's face softened for a moment, then he dismissed her with a nod. Outside, Ethan waited quietly. He had heard what happened, and though he tried not to show it, the injustice stung him deeply. Maya, however, refused to be discouraged. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "If they want to see me as a problem, I'll become the solution they can't ignore." Their friendship deepened. Ethan continued to support her, sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly, breaking down invisible walls around her. One rainy evening, as they sat beneath the shelter of the restaurant's awning, Ethan said something that surprised Maya. "I want to help change things. Not just for you, but for everyone like you. It's not right how this world treats you, how it treats people." Maya looked into his eyes, a mixture of hope and doubt swirling inside her. "It won't be easy," she whispered. "No," Ethan agreed, "but that's why we need to fight." For the first time in a long time, Maya felt something stronger than fear or doubt. She felt a quiet spark, one that promised change, and she was ready to ignite it. The next academic year began with a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. Maya felt the weight of expectation, not only from herself but from those who had begun to see her as a symbol of hope, resilience, and change. But the harsh realities of her world remained unchanged. At university, the subtle yet constant undercurrents of racial bias persisted, despite her top grades and accolades. Some professors and students continued to question her presence. It was a silent war, fought with glances, whispers, and exclusion. Maya found herself at a crossroads. She had the talent and determination to excel, but the environment tried to suffocate her spirit. Still, she refused to be defeated. One day, in a large lecture hall filled with students, Maya gathered her courage and raised her hand to ask a question. As her voice echoed clearly through the room, a few students snickered. A professor, not used to challenges, interrupted and subtly dismissed her inquiry. After class, Maya was approached by her head of department, Dr. Collins, a white man known for his strictness and high standards. She hoped to find an ally, someone who could understand the struggles she faced. "Dr. Collins," Maya began, "I want to talk about the climate here. The way some students and staff treat me, and others like me. It's affecting our ability to learn." Dr. Collins looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Maya, I understand your concerns, but university isn't a place to play the victim. You need to focus on your work." Maya felt the sting of his words. It wasn't just the students, those in power, too, seemed blind to the injustices she endured. Later, she requested a meeting with the vice-chancellor, hoping for support. The VC, an older white man with a reputation for tradition, listened politely but said little. "I appreciate your courage, Maya," he said carefully. "But change takes time. You must be patient." His words felt like a gentle dismissal, wrapped in polite tones. The unfairness cut deep. But Maya's spirit hardened. She was no longer willing to accept mere patience. Around this time, Ethan's role in Maya's life grew quietly influential. He had begun to speak more openly about the racial inequalities he witnessed and the power his family wielded. Though he was the son of a billionaire restaurant owner, he wanted to use his privilege to help those silenced and marginalized. One afternoon, Ethan invited Maya to a private meeting at a cozy cafe away from the university's walls. The rain pattered softly outside as they sat across from each other, nursing cups of warm coffee. "Maya," Ethan said, "I want to help you, really help. Not just with scholarships or resources, but with influence. My father owns the restaurant, but my family has connections. I can get you into networks, introduce you to people who matter." Maya looked at him carefully. Trust didn't come easily, but something about Ethan felt genuine. "I'm tired of just surviving," she whispered. "I want to change the system, but I don't want to lose myself in it." Ethan nodded. We'll do it your way. With Ethan's support growing stronger, Maya began to see opportunities where once there had been only barriers. She was invited to exclusive workshops, leadership programs, and mentoring circles. Slowly, the doors that had been locked shut started to open. At the same time, Maya remained grounded in the community that raised her. She volunteered at local organizations, mentoring younger black students, and speaking out against racial injustice. Her voice grew stronger, carrying the stories of those often ignored. However, success came with new pressures. Rumors began swirling among students and faculty, whispers that Maya's achievements were bought by privilege, that Ethan's family's influence was unfair. Some even accused her of betraying her community. These false narratives stung sharply. One evening after a long day, Maya sat alone in her small apartment, overwhelmed. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. How could she prove that her hard work was real? That her dreams were her own? Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. You're not alone. Keep fighting. His words felt like a lifeline. Reinvigorated, Maya resolved to let her work speak louder than rumors. She threw herself into her studies, activism, and building bridges between communities. Months later, Maya's perseverance bore fruit. She was nominated for a prestigious academic award, an honor given to students who not only excelled academically but also demonstrated leadership and service. At the award ceremony, dressed elegantly but modestly, Maya stepped onto the stage. The spotlight was intense, but her voice did not waver. This award is not just mine, she said, but belongs to every student who faces obstacles because of their race, background, or circumstances. Together, we can build a future where everyone's talents are recognized and celebrated. Applause filled the room. For the first time, Maya felt truly seen. After the ceremony, a reporter approached her. Your story is inspiring, the reporter said. What's next for you? Maya smiled softly. The fight continues. I want to not only succeed, but create spaces where others can succeed too. That night, she called Ethan. Thank you, she whispered. For what? He asked. For believing in me? The two shared a quiet moment of connection, hope. As the academic year drew to a close, Maya's focus shifted to preparing for competitive exams and opportunity to enter elite postgraduate programs. These exams were grueling, testing not only knowledge but resilience. She studied late into the night, often falling asleep over her books, dreams of a better future driving her forward. One afternoon, while studying at the university library, Maya overheard a conversation between two students mocking her. Must be nice to have a billionaire friend, one sneered. Bet she didn't earn a thing. Maya closed her book slowly, taking a deep breath. She approached them calmly. My success isn't about who I know, she said steadily. It's about how hard I've worked. The students looked away, silence hanging between them. Maya returned to her seat, her heart pounding but her spirit unbroken. The journey was far from over. But with every step, she was carving a path, not just for herself, but for those who would come after. And somewhere in the background, Ethan's quiet support remained a steady flame, lighting the way. The new semester dawned with fresh challenges and renewed determination. Maya's days had become a delicate balance, juggling her demanding coursework, late-night study sessions, and shifts at the restaurant where she worked as a waitress. The burden of expectations weighed heavily on her slender shoulders, but her eyes burned with a quiet fire. Though the university remained a place fraught with subtle discrimination, Maya's reputation was growing. More students and even some faculty were beginning to see her not just as a black girl struggling, but as a force to be reckoned with, a bright mind refusing to be dimmed. Ethan, now a steady presence in her life, continued to offer his support in ways both big and small. Sometimes it was a late-night text checking on her, sometimes an unexpected visit to the cafe where she worked, offering encouragement and a brief escape from her relentless schedule. But not everyone welcomed their friendship. One chilly afternoon, as Maya walked through the university's stone corridors, a group of students blocked her path, their eyes cold, their sneers sharp. You think you're better than us now? One said, voice dripping with disdain. You only got where you are because of him, another spat, pointing toward Ethan's name whispered around campus. Maya's heart pounded, but she held her ground. I am where I am because of my hard work. I don't owe anyone an apology for that. The group scoffed and dispersed. But the incident left a sting deeper than any insult. It was a reminder that even with progress, prejudice still lingered like a shadow. That evening, Maya confided in Ethan at a quiet park bench beneath flickering streetlights. "They don't see me," she said softly, "or they refuse to. All they see is my skin color, or who I'm friends with. It's exhausting." Ethan reached out, squeezing her hand gently. "I know, but you're changing the story. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who looks like you." Maya smiled faintly, the weight of his belief warming her like a shield. As the months passed, Maya's academic performance soared. She began to take on leadership roles in student organizations, focusing on diversity and inclusion. She spoke at panels, wrote articles for the university newsletter, and worked tirelessly to bring attention to the issues Black students faced. With Ethan's growing influence, Maya gained access to exclusive workshops and mentorship programs. She met leaders and innovators who challenged her to think bigger, to dream beyond the confines of the university and restaurant walls. Despite the progress, Maya remained grounded in her roots. She continued volunteering in her community, organizing tutoring sessions and speaking at local. But the pressures of her dual life, student and waitress, activist and scholar, sometimes felt unbearable. One night, exhausted and overwhelmed, Maya sat alone in her small apartment, books scattered around her like fallen leaves. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "You're stronger than you know. I believe in you." The words brought tears to her eyes. She was not alone. As final exams approached, Maya doubled down on her efforts. Sleepless nights gave way to early mornings, filled with study groups and practice tests. Her hard work paid off. When results were announced, Maya had secured top marks, earning her a spot on the dean's list for the third consecutive semester. But the journey was far from over. With graduation on the horizon, Maya faced a new challenge, deciding what path to take next. Yet the administration's support remained lukewarm at best. When Maya approached Dr. Collins again with proposals for diversity programs, his response was cautious and non-committal. "We must be careful," he warned. "Change must come gradually." To Maya, gradually felt like a lifetime too long. But she refused to be silenced. At the restaurant where Ethan's family held sway, Maya's presence was a quiet rebellion. Serving tables to pay her tuition, she witnessed firsthand the stark contrasts between privilege and struggle. Ethan's father, Mr. Sinclair, a tall man with sharp eyes and a commanding presence, had noticed Maya's resilience. Though initially wary of the friendship between his son and the Black girl from the university, he began to respect her grit and determination. One evening, after a busy shift, Mr. Sinclair approached Maya. "You're working hard," he said, voice firm but not unkind. "Keep that spirit. It will take you far." Maya nodded, grateful for the rare encouragement. Meanwhile, Ethan and Maya's friendship deepened into something more profound. They shared dreams and fears, late-night conversations about the future, and quiet moments of laughter that softened the harsh edges of their world. Maya's journey into the world of politics was not an easy one. It was a terrain riddled with old alliances, unseen barriers, and a stubborn resistance to change. But she was undeterred. The fire inside her was stronger than any obstacle. She spent countless hours attending meetings, volunteering in local campaigns, and absorbing every bit of knowledge she could find about the political process. Nights blurred into mornings as she pored over policy papers, memorized speeches, and strategized with mentors. Her relationship with Ethan remained a steady source of strength. Though his world was vastly different from hers, gilded halls, high society events, he never made her feel out of place. Instead, he became her anchor, often reminding her, "Remember who you are. Your story is your power." One afternoon, Maya found herself in a bustling community center surrounded by hopeful faces, young activists, community leaders, and concerned citizens eager for change. This was where her real work began. Yet Maya used these critiques as fuel. She organized town halls, met with diverse groups, and worked tirelessly to build a coalition that transcended race and class. Ethan stood by her side at every event, his presence a calming force amid the chaos. One evening, after a long day of canvassing, Maya sat with Ethan on a quiet rooftop overlooking the city lights. "Do you ever get tired?" he asked softly. "All the time," she admitted. "But I can't stop now. There's too much at stake." He nodded, his hand finding hers. "You're stronger than you think. And you don't have to do this alone." Their bond deepened, a testament to the power of connection in a world that often sought to divide. As the campaign gained momentum, Maya faced moments of doubt and exhaustion. The toll of constant scrutiny, the whispered threats, and the relentless pace weighed heavily. But each time she faltered, she reminded herself why she started. She remembered the faces of those she wanted to uplift, the children dreaming of a better life, the parents hoping for safer streets, the elders yearning for respect. Her speeches became anthems of hope. Her vision a bridge between communities long kept apart. Election day arrived with a mix of anticipation and nerves. The city seemed to hold its breath as votes were counted and results tallied. When the final numbers appeared on the screen, Maya's heart raced. She had won. Cheers erupted around her, tears of joy streaming down faces young and old. In that moment, Maya felt the weight of history shift. She was not just a symbol of progress, but a living testament to resilience and change. Her victory was more than a personal achievement. It was a beacon for those who believed in a future without prejudice. As Maya stood before the crowd that night, she raised her voice with determination. "This win belongs to all of us," she declared. "Together we will build a city where everyone belongs, where every child's dream is possible." With the election behind her, Maya stepped into her new role as the city's youngest and first black mayor. The weight of the office rested on her shoulders, but so did the hope of thousands who had believed in her vision. The mayor's office was a world away from the university halls and the bustling restaurant where she had once worked. It was filled with polished furniture, gleaming windows, and the hum of political activity. But Maya never let the grandeur distract her from the people she served. Her first days were a whirlwind of meetings, policy reviews, and media appearances. The political establishment watched closely, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled skepticism. Maya's agenda was clear: dismantle systemic racial inequalities, improve education, reform policing, and build bridges across communities. But the path was anything but smooth. Resistance came from unexpected corners. Some council members challenged her proposals outright. Budget meetings turned into battlegrounds, and old power structures tried to maintain their grip. At times, Maya felt isolated in the corridors of power. The subtle snubs, the dismissive tones, reminders that breaking barriers was a lonely business. Yet she drew strength from the community. Weekly visits to neighborhoods, town halls where voices were heard, and listening sessions kept her grounded. Her presence inspired young, black children who saw in her a reflection of their dreams. One afternoon, as Maya walked through a vibrant neighborhood park filled with families and children playing, a little girl tugged at her sleeve. "Mayor Maya," she said shyly, "I want to be like you when I grow up." Maya smiled, kneeling to meet her eyes. "And you will. You already are." Moments like these made the battles worth it. Behind the scenes, Maya worked to build alliances across racial lines. She invited leaders from different communities to join her advisory board, believing that unity was the key to lasting change. Ethan, now a trusted partner in her life and work, helped bridge gaps in ways Maya couldn't always achieve alone. Together, they organized cultural events, dialogues, and initiatives that celebrated diversity and promoted understanding. Yet the challenges persisted. She remembered the struggles of her youth, the taunts, the dismissals, the long nights of study and work. Now she was rewriting the story, not just for herself, but for a generation waiting to believe again. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Maya sat alone in her office, reflecting. The city skyline shimmered through the window, lights flickering like stars. Ethan entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her, sitting beside her. "This is just the beginning," she replied. "There's still so much to do." And she meant it. Maya's journey was far from over, but the foundation she was laying promised a hope. Equality and unity could thrive. After years of struggle, countless moments of doubt, and standing tall against the storms of prejudice, Maya stood before a massive crowd in the heart of the city. The grand rally was alive with energy, a sea of diverse faces, black and white, young and old, united by a single hope. She looked out at the crowd, her heart swelling with emotion. This was no longer just her fight. It was theirs too. For the first time in decades, the city breathed a new air, one of hope, healing, and togetherness. Maya raised her voice, steady but full of passion, her words echoing through the open square. "Today we do not stand divided by the color of our skin, the place we come from, or the prejudices that tried to hold us back. Today we stand as one people, united, strong and determined to build a future where everyone is equal, respected and valued." The crowd erupted into cheers, the sound reverberating off the tall buildings. And as she looked back one last time on the journey, from the girl who once carried heavy burdens to the woman, leading a city toward justice. She smiled, because she wasn't just a leader. She was a symbol that change is possible, that unity is powerful, and that love can overcome hate. Maya walking away from the rally stage, blending into the crowd, her head held high, the city lights shining bright behind her, a new dawn for all.